There, now I can see. Hello again, everybody. This is Derek, and I am back at you with another Wargaming Weekly. I say weekly, but it's been like 2 months since I did the last one. The last one was just to let you know that I was alive and well and out of the hospital. No, I guess that wasn't that long ago. It was July 23rd, I think, is when I did the last video. July, August 23rd. Yeah, it's been like a month and a half. Okay, so I haven't stopped um, wargaming, modeling and painting, and my hobby continues. My health wanes, but luckily I'm still here. I'm still kicking, and I'm still doing commissions. Okay, so in today we're going to be working on these 1/72nd scale Napoleonic Russians as a commission. A customer of mine decided to switch to 1/72nd, and so he needed some figures painted, and so he sent me 3 armies to paint, and the first one here is going to be these Russians. Now, I've already started them, and working on them, it's reminded me why I stopped doing 1/72nd. My very first foray into wargaming, well, I actually it's micro armor, but then I quickly decided to go with 1/72nd. I did 1/72nd World War II, and I did 1/72nd Napoleonics. I did 176 and also 187. I did the HO, and I did the Matchbox, which is 176, and then I did the 172nd because it's all super close. And I pretty much did that to play Command Decision back in the day. And Napoleon's battles I played in 1/72nd, mainly because I thought the figures were cheap enough to get huge armies. And I played a game of Waterloo. I've always been fascinated with that battle just because of the different nations, variety of uniforms and everything that are at Waterloo. I this was back in NashCon, maybe like, let me think of the year, like maybe 89. No, it wouldn't have been 89. No, it could have been. It could have been 89, 88, 89, somewhere in there. I did, that's when I was doing my 1/72nd scale phase. And I played a game of Waterloo at this convention on one of the largest tables they could provide, and it still wasn't large enough for 1/72nd. If I was to play it in 1/28 scale or 28 millimeter, it would have been a huge battle, because a 15 millimeter battle requires a 9-foot table to do Waterloo. And so if you think 28 millimeter is double that, you would need an 18-foot table to do 28 millimeter, and exactly halfway between 9 and 18, which is what, um, about close to 15 feet to do 1/72nd. Hey Brian, uh, I see your chat. Thank you. I appreciate it. I have been working out a little bit, trying to get my heart back in strength and to make it so that I can stream and that I can because honestly the first few weeks was pretty rough. Didn't have any balance. I had no wind. I couldn't get up, and I could walk across the house, but then I would be winded, you know. Um, but now I I pretty much don't get winded whenever I walk anywhere. If I was to run somewhere, that would be a different story, you know. But haven't tried that. I don't think I'm going to. I'm just gonna build up my walking until I feel like. Now we've got a subscription to. My wife has a subscription to Planet Fitness, and she has this ability to bring a guest. So I'm going to start going to Planet Fitness with her twice a week or something like that. Uh, Try to maybe do the bicycle or something. But back to my story. Uh, so I painted 1/72nd, and I painted all of the figures you needed for Waterloo. Prussians, the French, the Dutch Belgians, the Nassau, the Brunswickers, all that. And I had huge boxes of these figures because they were on pretty sizable bases, you know, pretty close to the way black powder is done. And because Napoleon's battles is I modified the bases to fit the figure scale. And when I played at the convention, I realized that there's no way. This was kind of a selfish or a realization. I realized there was no way I was going to be able to play Waterloo at home with my friends in 1/72nd. So I made a command decision at that time to switch to 15 millimeter Napoleonics. Now I stayed with 1/72nd World War II, and that worked out pretty good because figures are cheap, and you don't need a whole lot of figures for a command decision battle. Not really. You need a lot of different vehicles. Maybe not a lot of the same vehicle, but you do need a lot of different vehicles, especially on the German side. And I was playing. I got deployed to Berlin. I don't know if you guys are familiar. It was after the wall came down, but before Berlin was, well, during. I was there when Berlin was shut down. But while I was in Berlin, we could play Command Decision on my dining room table because it had some inserts that made the table bigger and stuff like that. So we had a pretty giant table, and I had boxes and boxes of GeoHex, which was perfect for the campaign that I was running, which was the Bastogne campaign. And there was a local model shop that was that I would go to, and well, there was a game store, but they carry more Games Workshop stuff. But there was a model train store that I went to that had 1/72nd scale models, Matchbox and Aerofix, and and Eschi and Ravel and stuff like that. And then they also had HO train buildings, which they had this spinner rack in the middle of the shop that was I guess consignment is what I'm guessing, but there were buildings pre-built, painted and everything else on this spinner rack, and you could go through and I could pick and choose and pay like 2 or 3 marks, which was only like $1, $2 for these buildings. And I built up this giant collection of HO buildings, which I have out in the garage actually. Like I would build, like I would be on, what do you remember the good old days when there was, what do they call it? CQ, where you're charged of quarters, where you have to stay up all night listening for the phone. You sit at a desk, bored out the wazoo. What I would do is I would bring a 1/72 scale model to CQ, and I would build like a Hanomag half track or a Panther tank or something like that. And so I'd pass the time. Okay. Well, but painting 1/72 scale plastic infantry was a pain in the butt. After I got my 15mm Napoleonics in and I started painting those, I was cranking units out. I was painting battalions, well, regiments or brigades at that time, but it's like 24 figures per unit. And I was like painting those, and then I realized like it is so much easier to paint 15mm than it is to paint 1/72. So I decided that I was going to switch to 15mm in World War II as well. And I don't know why I keep peeking on my mic. I'm going to lower this just a little, just keep it from peaking. And so I switched to 15s, and I loved the infantry, and the tanks were not that much smaller, because you get a 1/72 scale Panther tank, and then you get a 15mm, which if you want to think of the 1/72 in millimeters, it's considered a 20mm model. So you're looking at like a 20mm Panther and a 15mm Panther. They're really not that much different, but on the table it saves so much space, and I was able to play games at home that I wouldn't have been able to do. I even did a foray into micro armor for a while because I wanted to play like those command decision battles or even Spearhead with smaller figures, because it would be more in line with the ground scale. But 6mm just didn't have the detail. The tanks looked fine, but the infantry that I found in 6mm were like GHQ or whatever, and they were all in like these squads, or they're all shoved together, a lot like the epic stuff from Warlord. And I decided not to go that route. I decided to go with 15mm. But this guy sent me 3 armies to do. One of them is Russians, and that's what we are going to be painting these today, believe it or not. I am going to be painting these. But before we do that, I have a lot of things that I want to show off, because I haven't been online for a long time. I have done a couple of videos like what have I done, or just like project updates, my American War of Independence project. I am personally working on my American War of Independence, and that is that's going great. It's going awesome. And just this morning, I finished my trays, um, or at least the current trays that I was working on. I finished those, and I got one right here, and I'll show it off. But before I do that, I do want to show off this. This is a 3D printed, I guess, shelf display. What it is the Vorpal rabbit and a helmet, medieval helmet, some skulls from Monty Python, the Holy Grail, right? That's the rabbit, right? The monster in the cave or whatever. My son 3D printed this and wanted it painted, and so I've got a little commission for my son. No charge, right? So so all I've done with it so far is sprayed it with Vallejo Bone White, and then from there I'm gonna darken the nose and the skull, the eye sockets, and then there's a skull inside there. I don't know if you can see that. There's a skull inside there. I'm gonna paint this with a metallic black. I might trim this little cross piece on his great helm, and then the rabbit's supposed to be white with maybe a little bit of blood coming off of the face. So yeah, that's what I plan to do that on my off time, you know. Okay, so I've got some orders out for American War of Independence figures. I have an Old Glory order out, which has been almost a month. Actually, I think it's been just over well, maybe not over a month, but it's been a while, right? And I also had a Peter Pig order, small order. I have a Stone Mountain order, pretty small. I had a Blue Moon order, and I think that's it. So I put in these orders mainly because I wanted to see the quality comparison. I wanted to see the differences between the different manufacturers and pick and choose which ones that I wanted to use for my personal collection. I did get in the Blue Moon, and I've got a couple of the packages here. I'm going to open them on camera here with us today, and I'm going to kind of just look at them just to see what they're all about. The price seems right. They're like $20, and you're supposed to get like 30 figures in there. So now, of course, I get a retail discount, but I'm going to, I've already put them on my eBay store where I've got all my Blue Moon, which is about 30 packs or something like that, on the store. But I wanted to check them out just to see what they look like, because I'm curious, and you guys might be curious as well. But we're going to be looking at those here in just a bit before I start painting. That's actually going to be the last thing I do. I put an order in for some flags. As you know, I had a number of GMB flags I had a number of these GMB flags from different states and regiments, and like those are the New Yorks, this Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Hampshire. But where's my Maryland, right? I don't have that. And where's my Virginia? I don't have that. So what I did was, okay, and these are rattlesnake flags. And I noticed I didn't have any of the Betsy Ross flags. So I went to GMB and I placed an order for a fairly large number of flags, the ones that I don't have, basically just to complete my collection from the GMB, because I really like GMB flags. I think they're the best quality out of all of the American War of Independence flags, but they don't have every unit and they don't have every flag, but they have a large selection. So I went with that. And here are I only have 4 British flag collections. Each one has 3 different regiments. I do have the 9th, which is good. The 21st, I think, is one I need. Maybe the 20th. I know I will need the 17th for the Princeton battle. I'm not sure which ones of these I need, but I went in and I kind of looked at the different regiments I needed and that I wanted, and then I went to GMB and I included that with the order as well. They only have two Hessian flags selections, and none of the ones I have are the ones that I need for Freeman's Farm. So I put in an order for those. Still waiting on those. Now I did get in, or at least so I believe these are Stone Mountain flags. And there's a lot of different flags on here. Some of them are duplicated on here, like the 9th is right there. But I noticed that on this one, it did have the von Retz von Speck, right? So it had those 2 flags, which I needed for Freeman's Farm. Now the problem with both of these, they're only the regimental flags. They're not the Lieb standards. So I felt like I was only getting one of 2 flags that I needed. But at least they had those. And then on this set, it does have the Ridicel flag. So I will have all 3 flags from the Brunswick, from Stone Mountain. Now, I did order flags in addition, all their other flags, in addition to their figures. Not all their figures, but I ordered some figures and some flags from Stone Mountain. So those should be coming in. Now, I did get an order of flags in from Cotton Gym. I wonder what I did with those. I got some Cotton Gym flags in. Give me a second. See if I can go find it. Hope I didn't lose them. I think they're right here. I had them mixed up with some commission flags. Okay, so I got these Cotton Gym flags in. there's, on their British flags, they have the King's colors and the regimental colors for the battalions that I've gotten. Or the regiments, I should say. And I also found some cavalry flags for the 16th Light Dragoons, 17th Light Dragoons, and the Philadelphia and Tarleton. Oh, wait. 2nd Light Dragoons, 3rd Light Dragoons, Baltimore Brun. Probably Baltimore and the Brunswick, because that one down there says Brunswick. Okay, just it was hard to put it all in there. Now they have von Riedesel, Retz, but then they got Prince Karl. But the Retz now has both. It has the Leibstandard and the regimental flag, even for Riedesel. So, and then there's a couple more back there. So I almost feel like I want to go back and redo my Retz battalion and put a 2nd standard bearer in there. I could always make another stand of musketeers or even Fusiliers and put the Leibstandard with them. And here's the 9th again. So I've got a bunch of 9th. Okay, and then we've got some revolutionary flags. Virginia, Hanover. Okay, we'll get back to these. So I got South Carolina, Washington, 2nd Continental, Rhode Island, some militias. Culpeper, Rhode Island Militia, 3rd Maryland. But you'll notice I've also got a couple of these, like I got Betsy Ross, and then they got the 76 flag. And here's even more. So yeah, I went through Cotton Gym, and Cotton Gym's got some good looking flags. But I noticed, oh wait, what's this? Some more British. 7th and 103rd, Queen's Rangers, 24th. They had a couple of other flag sets that I thought I want to just go ahead and pick up. This is the first time I've seen 15 millimeter Burgundian flags. I find 28 millimeter Burgundian all day long. I even have a 28 millimeter Signifer Burgundian, but I'm not doing 28 millimeter. I'm doing 15s. So I picked up this Burgundian flag set. Perfect. And then because I saw it, I decided to go ahead and get it. It's the Renaissance Swiss flags, for all their, they should be taken on the Burgundians as well. So they're like a what do you call it? A combatant. Okay, but I still have my GMB flag still pending. When they come in, well, right now I've got more than enough flags, but I just want to be complete. I just want to be, I'm a completionist. All right. All right, so let's show this. This is two things. This is a tray. I know the zoom and everything can't barely see anything, but I made a tray. These are stackable, and they can go on my shelf. So I put this in, and I can put another one on top. I can put another one on top of that, another one. I can go as high as I want. I put a little bit of felt on the bottom to keep the figures from like sliding around. And these are the 5 units that I've completed. American War of Independence. I got Rhett's Musketeers. And then I've got New Hampshire. I think these guys are Smallwood. 3rd Mass. And this would be New York. 3rd New York. Yeah. So I've got these 3-stand units is a standard unit in Land of the Free, which is an 18-figure base style, basing. Plus, I did some brigade commanders back here, and then I did some division commanders right here. And then, of course, I've got my overall Commander Washington there. So we got Benedict Arnold, Nathaniel Greene, Horatio Lloyd Gates, Charles Lee, or the divisions. And then down here, I've got Henry Knox, Comte de Rochambeau, which technically he's not American, he's French. Anthony Wayne, Francis Marion, he's also called Swamp Fox, and then Marquis de Lafayette. So this should be enough to get me started on the Allied commanders or Continental commanders. I still need to do like a British tray, which I don't know if I'm going to do a Brunswick tray or if I'm just going to include it with the British. But these trays work, and I ran out of white primer, so I just primed them gray. All right. My wife bought these little sports drink powder packets. And so I just take an empty bottle, fill it with water, put one of the packets in, shake it up, boom, got a refill basically. Okay, so let's take a look. This is Continentals in regulation coats and cocked hats. This would be your, the uniform. Just as a casual glance at them, they look very similar to Old Glory size and bulkiness. So now I'm going to change my glasses so that I can get in a little bit closer. Okay, now these guys are all just marching, shoulder, arms. I know I'm not like, hey, check this guy out. No, I'm checking it out for myself. Okay, he's got a bayonet, sheath, canteen, ammo cartridge, cross straps, cocked hat. Okay, the cuffs are very pronounced. That's good. That's good for painting. There's no real definition. This is just on this one figure. But there's no real definition on a gaiter. It could be just trousers. Okay, these look like gators. A little bit of flash, but not. Well, there's no mold lines. Almost zero mold lines, but there is a little bit of flash coming off of them. That'll be easy to trim off. And the bases, the bottom of the bases need work. I love how small the bottom of the bases are. How they're kind of roundish. Mostly round. Okay. I don't see any command figures in there at, well, that's not true. Nope, that's a bayonet. There's zero command in there. So there's no drummer, no standard bearer, no officer, just guys marching. Which is fine because I have some command pack coming and also Blue Moon. I already have some Blue Moon command packs. Now, if you remember, I mentioned it just a minute ago, a regular unit is 18 figures. This is 30, so this doesn't really come to a good conclusion. But when you buy a command pack, you get two sets of command for a total of 10 figures. So if you combine a command pack with this, you would get, yeah, look at that, exactly 30 figures. You would get 40 figures, and if you split 40 in half, making 2 units, you got 2 units of 20. There's actually like 4 figures extra. Yeah, these guys look really good. At this scale, when you paint them, I could paint them with gators or not. It's going to be kind of hard to really tell. Okay. I don't think I need to open this. But this is the British one. And their canteen is actually a bottle. The brass or tin, where those are the wooden circles. You guys have haversacks. I don't remember seeing that on those. And these guys aren't going to have standards or drummers or any of that either, because you got to get the command pack separately. Now they do have some packs that say like light infantry with command, stuff like that. But these are just the 30 packs with just infantry. And they look good. I'm very pleased with those. Okay, so I will, when I get my Old Glory order in, which I'm anticipating it any day now, when I get it, I will compare it. I'll do an on-screen, like, what's in the box kind of thing. and we'll get a close-up view of the figures and stuff like that. Might even paint a few. Okay, my fingers. Okay. All right, well, the next thing we're going to do is start painting these guys. Not start, I should say I'm going to continue painting them. Now, I wonder what the Stone Mountain figures are going to look like when they come in. Okay, we got another chat. Kent says, do you remember the War Store? Yeah, the War Store. It sounds familiar. Was that one that was up north? Up in like Michigan or something like that? I'm trying to remember. Or was it on the East Coast? Yeah, but the War Store, that name sounds familiar. Okay, so my goal today, because I'm not going to be on here for many hours. Okay. Now there are 3 different brands of figures up here, and we've got Eschi, Hat, and Zvezda. These are the Hat figures because they were the artillery pieces. And I struggled gluing them together. I even broke one of the axles. I had to go in and pin one of the axles. But the problem is all of my glue, and I used a bunch of different glues, would not stick to the plastic. I tried Tamiya. I tried plastic weld. I tried Gorilla Clear Grip, and none of them would work. And then it dawned on me, super glue. Yeah, super glue. Yeah, so they're not super glued, they're actually Gorilla Gripped, but I probably could have started with super glue and it would have been a lot better, a lot easier, a lot faster. The Eschi ones are okay. Like these guys here are Eschi. And these guys here are Zvezda. And you can see the Zvezda ones actually have the plastic is a little bit harder. It's not a soft plastic. It's kind of not hard, but it's harder. And it seems like it's going to be a lot easier to paint. They're bulkier and they're more defined. So Zvezda better. Kent also says, no, it was on Fort Campbell Boulevard in Clarksville. That was my store. If you're talking about the War Room, that would be mine. Do you remember, if you're getting the name mixed up. It's the War Room, right? Right there on Fort Campbell Boulevard, near like where Crystals and um, Dodge's Chicken and all that, right there. Yeah, that was me. That's when I had the when I owned the game store here in Clarksville. Yeah. That was me. There was I had some good times, and then I sold it to uh, a couple of people that were partnered, and um, they wound up uh, not paying me the full amount. So there was some legal action. They even used my name and my charged some when they bought some Games Workshop models. They billed it to me on my account, and there was a little bad blood between them and me. And then they wound up selling it to the McCormicks, and they moved the store downtown. Not exactly sure why. Maybe they got a better deal on a bigger place. And then I think they wound up selling it. So after me, it changed hands like 3 times, 4 times. And eventually it closed, I think. I don't think it's uh, I don't think it's active anymore. Okay, let's move the camera. I'm sorry that whenever you chat, uh, keep chatting. That's fine, but I have to stop painting and put a different pair of glasses on because I can't see with my painting glasses. Yeah, in the 90s. That's exactly right. I opened it in 95 and I closed it in 2001. Or sold it, I should say. I sold it in 2001. So you were there when I was there. You were there when I was the owner. Played a lot of Games Workshop. That was a big thing in this store. Warhammer 40K, Warhammer Fantasy. We did a lot of Blue Max. Played Blue Max with miniatures and tennis. Fun times. Back when Reaper miniatures were only like $2. There's something like $5 or $6 now, I do believe. So I spray primed these guys with like a a fusion spray primer for plastics. And then I went on top of it and brush primed it with Vallejo light gray. Because spray primer doesn't get everywhere. And then I brush primed the pants with white. Nope, that's not true. I brush primed the entire figure with white using the Vallejo polyurethane white. And then I brush painted actual white paint on the pants. I was nervous. Well, first of all, it's being done as a commission, so I wanted to do it right for this customer. But because it's soft plastic, it will have a tendency through game use to flake. But I found that when I remember back in the day when I was doing my own 1/72nd, I struggled with flaking, and I learned that if you wash the miniatures, get all the mold release off, that helps a lot with the 1/72nd stuff. Hard plastic, you don't really need to worry about it because it's not flexing. But on the metals, I will still wash them because the mold release is heaviest on metals. We had a joke in the old days about Games Workshop using crack or cocaine or whatever in their mold release so that when you handle a Games Workshop model, you were like getting addicted. So that was back in the good old days. And then Games Workshop ruined their game. Age of Sigmar and all that BS. Now they've gone back to old school Warhammer Fantasy. They're calling it the Old World. And they're releasing you know, the old army lists and the old army boxes and stuff. They're redoing them. There is some changes in the basing and stuff like that, but I think they might have learned their lesson, or it's just a money grab. It's one of those two. Games Workshop was always the evil empire. Achoo! Excuse me. As you know, I like to put figures on popsicle sticks so I can do mass production. I do that for my own personal collections as well as commissions. Basically, to be honest, I usually don't paint any different for commissions than I do for my own personal collections. Like, I don't cut any corners, or I don't put any extra effort into a commission. I do it just the way I normally paint. And the reason why that is because I like the way my figures come out. So hopefully my customers will like the way their figures come out. And apparently they do, because they keep coming back for more work. Remember, if you guys need some figures painted, drop me an email at my email address, mr.everything.sc101@gmail, and I will give you a price sheet. I think there might even be a link to my price sheet in the video description. Now, every one of these infantry figures is a grenadier. I don't know if he knew that when he bought them, but he doesn't have any musketeers or fusiliers or Jaegers. They're all grenadiers, both packs. Not counting Hat, because that's artillery. I'm actually not very impressed with Hat 172nd. I think it's lazy sculpting. And the plastic they use is so soft. It doesn't take paint Well, it takes paint well, but I would expect it to flake off very easily. And this gray primer on the popsicle stick is very sticky. So my fingers are like, I'm having a hard time like moving the miniature around and stuff. Now the green coat um, isn't I don't really have to pay too much attention to how I'm painting it. I just need to keep it off the pants. Because everything else I'm going to paint around it. Like collars and cuffs and cross straps and this bedroll cloak or whatever it is, great cloak that they have wrapped around their shoulder. Now, if you're chatting, I'm not looking up at the screen, as you might notice. But I will, from time to time, glance up at the screen. Okay. I had to look at that a little closer to see exactly what I was looking at. That's another thing about 1/72. Details are not well defined. You almost have to know what's there or what's supposed to be where and paint it in. One reason why I don't like 1/72. But I'm getting paid to do this. Speaking of which, I still have some French World War II figures that I finished in June. And the guy still hasn't paid me yet. My policy is, if you don't pay me in 90 days after completion, that is, I'm going to consider you've abandoned those figures or you don't want them anymore. And I'm going to wind up selling them. So this guy's World War II French, which I've had for almost 3 months. I mean, I think I'm only like 7 days off of 3 months. He's made me, because of the difficulty of trying to get a hold of him and getting paid. He had done so well in the beginning because I've done a number of commissions for this guy. And he paid me all those previous times. But this has made me reconsider how I bill people for my work. Um, I think I'm going to allow non-PayPal payments, but with a surcharge. Not much, $10, something like that. Maybe 10% or something. But the reason why I require PayPal is because to get out and go to the bank to make a deposit of a money order is incredibly complicated for me, especially right now. Because like a money order, I can't use my phone to make a deposit. I have to do it in person. That means I have to get someone to drive me to the bank. Because right now, I don't trust myself to drive. Oh, we got a bunch of chats, I think. Let me glance up here and take a look. What do we got? Yeah, BattleTech. Yeah, I remember BattleTech. I don't have any BattleTech figures anymore. I don't have any of that cab figures. Remember that? I don't have any of that either. Got rid of all that mech. Oh, and heavy gear. Got rid of heavy gear too. I don't have any of that. And what do we got? Dargon says, hello. Hey, well, hello. I've been addicted to 6mm Napoleonics recently. Okay. Yeah, one good thing about 6mm, you can get a lot of figures on the table. You just don't get the detail. Now, 28mm has some really good details, but the problem I have with 28mm, I love 28mm, don't get me wrong. I wish I had a big enough table to play a 28mm game, but I just don't. 28mm takes up too much space. And 6mm, you can do something really epic with 6mm, but you lose the detail. I even tried 10mm for a short time, extremely short, like a couple of weeks, and I decided that in my case, might not be your case, 15mm is perfect because I get a lot of detail on a 15mm figure, and it's small enough that I can play a fairly sizable battle on a fairly small table. Now I'm currently playing on a 4x6, but in the garage I have a 5x9 ping pong table that I used to play on. But again, I was thinking that just took up too much space in my hobby room here, so I downsized. I built the 4x6 table myself. A piece of really thick MDF. I think it's 3/4 inch. And then I edged it with some 1x4s to keep it from bending or warping. I'm just painting the backs of these guys right now. I'll switch to the fronts once I get the backs done. Okay, my paint in my palette is starting to dry up. Thicken it. Add a little bit of water in there. Now, one reason why I'm able to do this Wargaming Weekly today is because my wife went to an event. And my son is at work. So I'm actually home alone. And my Wargaming Weeklies used to be done every week when my wife would go to work. That way there was no interruptions or, sound in the background or anything like that. Because I hate that. Like if I was watching a video and there was noise and sound in the background, I would personally hate that. And I hate it when I'm making a video. One thing about these 1/72 scale models, flags. You have to find somebody that's selling 20 millimeter flags, or you have to print your own, which War Flag is a good source for flags. Or maybe it's Flags of War. I can't remember. I get those two guys confused. And then I mentioned it to the guy that sent this. I said, hey, did you send me any flags? Otherwise, I'm going to have to find some flags. And he said, oh, no, I have flags. I'll send them to you. Because I just forgot. And then while they were in the mail, I'm looking at these models and I'm like, there's no place to put a flag. There's a standard bearer there. He's got a plastic molded flag. I thought there was a second one. Maybe not. Maybe that was in the French or the Prussian box. Making sure everything's good. Okay, everything's good. So I got all these flags in for him, but I'm not going to be able to use any of them. And they all look like they were printed by himself as well. And they're all way too small. They're like 15 millimeter flags. So I'll just be mailing them back. Because the standard bearers are all going to have hand-painted flags. So have you guys been watching the Rings of Power? I've been watching it. I enjoy it. I also watch, I'm not going to give you any spoilers if you haven't watched it yet, but I watched a reaction video to the Rings of Power, and these two individuals are hung up on timing. Like, how fast does a horse go from one town to the next? How did this person go from being in the south to now being in the north? And that's all they talk about constantly. And I understand what's going on because okay, I'm going to insult somebody, so take this with a grain of salt. But they are liberals, and they have a very limited understanding of or maybe not understanding is not the right word. They have a very limited ability to comprehend complex concepts. Right? So I might be wrong. I could very well be wrong. And I probably am. But at least it doesn't bother me like it bothers them. Because I understand that when you're telling a story, like the writers are, that everything doesn't have to fit into a cookie cutter. Some of the actions can be simultaneous. I could be watching what's going on with the stranger, and I could watch what's going on with Galadriel and Elrond, and I can watch what's going on with Sauron and understand they might all be going on at the same time. Or there could be large, a month, a week, 2 weeks between them. But they think, this is their argument, or not argument, but this is their misunderstanding or concept. If you watch something and then you watch something else, the something else must be after the first something. But it's not necessarily the case. I understand that I'm watching a story in the north with Galadriel. A bunch of stuff happens. And then they go to another part of the story in the south. It doesn't mean it's happening immediately after what I just watched. There might be a delay. It might be before it happened. Yeah, so all the arguments about timing, like, how did he get there? How does he not know this? Well, they're not on the same, you're not watching it sequentially. That's my understanding. And when I accept that understanding, now, of course, some of it is sequential, but you just have to take the individual stories individually. Don't try to wrap them together with the other stories. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'm actually enjoying it. I'm like, oh, wow, that's cool. And this is cool. And that's awesome. And this is cool. And if he only knew what was going on in the South, that would be so cool. Or this must be happening before that happened. Or a year later. Or 6 days or whatever, because that's how long it takes to ride from one place to the other, right? It took Elrond and Galadriel, or it was going to take them, 2 weeks to walk or run, they were jogging, from Lindon to Eregion. But on the screen, it only took like 2 minutes. Okay, this is going to be a little tricky right here. This guy's resting his hand on his leg. I've already painted the pants. All right, that works. I'm using a giant brush because I'm not too worried about messing up with the green, except on the pants. And I believe that once I get these jackets done and the pants done, the rest of it will be like super fast. Because these are the largest, I guess, largest components. Yep. Yep. Okay. Now, one of the sets includes a bugler, you know, with your traditional bugle. And another set, okay, if I was to guess, the Eschi set has a bugler, and the Zvezda set has a flutist or a flautist. But there's also drummers on, aren't there? Yeah, there's a couple of drummers over there. Also, this guy doesn't want me to base these figures for him. Because he's going to base them for, my understanding is he's going to base them for Napoleon's battles. I really want to get my AWI figures in, Stone Mountain and Old Glory. Because I put that on pause until I get all the figures in. And then what I plan to do, like I did with Napoleon's, like I did with my Napoleonics, I grabbed a little bitty Ziploc bag and I put figures in the bag, basically made little baggies of each regiment or each battalion that I was doing. Put a little card inside that said what battalion it was. And it would have a standard and a drummer and a leader and all that. You know, it'd have all the grenadiers and voltigeurs and all that. So I want to do that with the American War of Independence, because some of these battalions have a mixture of troop types but the packages, then when I buy them, aren't mixed. They have like just Fusiliers in a bag, or just Musketeers, or just Grenadiers. And the way I'm basing them, I want to have a stand of Grenadiers. I want to have a stand of Fusiliers and a bunch of stands of Musketeers. And then one stand of command and stuff like that. So I have to open multiple bags and like mix and match to get my battalions organized the way I want them. But you all do that too, so that's nothing unusual. But the organizing them and getting them all set ahead of time, that way I can just pull a bag out and then clean it and paint it and base it and have it ready. And it'll kind of let me know if I have all the right figures for a particular battle or anything like that. Okay, let's see what we got. Okay, I'm testing the chat just to see if it pops up, and it does. Okay, just making sure. What time we got? 10:42. Okay, so I've been doing this for an hour and 42. Yeah. I've noticed that like 4 or 5 drops of the green does about 5 sticks. So I've been doing them boom, boom. So I'm going to take a little bit of a break from the green. And I'm going to touch on these canons. Already been used. Okay, I'm going to bronze up these cannon barrels. Okay. I think that should be enough bronze. I'm only doing 4 cannon barrels. Now you could get away with painting these black. My understanding is they would paint their barrels. But through use, the paint would melt away or burn off or whatever the term is. So technically, a bronze barrel with a bunch of black spots on it would probably be historically accurate. All right, that one looks good. I did 2 12-pounders and 2 6-pounders because the set comes with 4 sprues, and each sprue has 3 gun barrels. It's got a 6, a 12, and I think a 20. It's like really fat. I'm also going to be, when I get them done, I'm going to be putting a dark wash on these guys. So it'll darken up this bronze. Now, I have like 4 different bronze paints, and they're all different shades. But this model color, I think, is the best bronze. Because, like, here's an army painter bronze. Look at that. That's like, that's a weird color. It's probably, it could be right. And then I've got a bronze over there in my P3, and that's even a different color. Okay, maybe I only got 3. But I think the Vallejo model color is the best looking bronze. It's the one I use on my historicals. I might use the other ones on fantasy. And almost all my paints were bought online. Almost all of them. So you don't really know exactly what color it is. Because color swatches or whatever on websites don't always equate to what the paint looks like. So through trial and error, I found the best bronze. So Victrix, they're getting ready to release some 28 millimeter World War II Germans, is what I saw on their Facebook. And my understanding is they're also going to be releasing a set of rules. I have no idea what scale. When I say scale, I mean unit size. Like, is it a battalion? Is it a individual? Is it a platoon? So I don't know what scale, operational scale, they're going to shoot for. I don't know how many figures are going to be in a unit, etc., etc. If it's, I don't know if it's going to be, I don't even know if it's ancient or if it's World War II or if it's Napoleonic. I don't know what genre it is. I just know that I'd like to get my hands on it and maybe look at it and review it. So I contacted them and let them know that I was available to playtest, because they said that they were looking for playtesters. And if they get me a copy of the rules, I'll be glad to run a few games. And if they let me, I'll even stream it. On the eye sockets, should I just rely on the wash or should I put some black inside there? You know, I think I'm going to put some black. Okay, I'll go with jet black. I'm using the same brush for everything. Rabbit's eyes aren't really showing up very well. They're going to be red anyway. Okay. I'm going to do a little bit of black on the inside, but I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap. My son needs a higher resolution 3D printer because I'm seeing lines everywhere. Wow, this nose on both of them are really deep holes. Now I saw this exact model for sale on Etsy, unpainted and everything, for like, I don't remember, but it was pretty expensive. Whoops. Okay, we're getting there. There's also another TV series that you probably have never heard of. It's called The Ark. It's a sci-fi spaceship. And it's just one of many arks that were sent out from Earth. Hopefully to colonize another world. And they have, encounters every week. It's made by the same people that did Stargate, if I remember my names. Okay. I think those skull faces will be okay. And then there's the one inside here. getting a little hungry. So I'm probably going to be closing the stream down. Normally, I only stream for a couple hours usually. I'm surprised I got this long, because normally I don't sit still. Um, Without, struggling. Wow, that nose cavity is like deep. It's all right. Yeah, I think I'm going to paint this in here black as well. But the arc is actually on its second season. It's made in Canada, I do believe, just like Stargate was. You probably get big discounts. There's a security officer on the show that I thought was an actor that was on Stargate, because he looks like him, but then I did a little bit of IMDBing him, and it's not him. It's a different guy. I was like, oh, they're just going to bring actors over from Stargate. But no, he's a different guy. Okay, it's a little hard to get up under this helmet. It's not that I can't see it. It's just the brush doesn't want to get up in there. But again, I am going to wash this. And the wash should be able to get up in there. I'm going to paint this helmet boiler black. Just like I'm going to paint the wheels of the cannons. Okay. All right, that's all the black that's going on that. All right, before I do that, before I jump into the boiler black for the wheels and the helmet on that guy, I'm going to get something to eat. Which means we're going to stop this stream. And I appreciate everybody from coming out and hanging out with me this morning. This is kind of an impromptu thing. I thought about it this morning. Maybe I'll be able to keep doing this. Weekly, if not every other week, might be good. When I get my Old Glory order in and my Stone Mountain order in, I will do a comparison of Old Glory, Stone Mountain, Blue Moon, and I have a couple of Essex figures. Oh, I mentioned that I ordered some Peter Pig. I'm a little disappointed with Peter Pig. But I'm also, I don't know. Peter Pig's website's not the best, in my opinion. It's very 1980s. But I went to Peter Pig, I placed an order, and right there on the screen in bold letters was, we're having a discount between now and the end of the month. Go ahead and use this code and we'll give you, I don't know what it was, 10% off or something. So I went ahead and used the code and then placed the order. Everything was good. And then I got no email from them. But then I got a message from PayPal, because that's how I paid, that they refunded my payment because I wouldn't respond to their emails. Because that code was supposed to be only used if you were going to an event they were going to, and you could just pick them up at the event. And I didn't say that on the website. And so And I never got any emails. I just got a refund. So I might place another order with Peter Pig. And then just not use any kind of discount codes or whatever. But probably not. Because Old Glory, Stone Mountain, Blue Moon, and Essex should be enough choices. In my opinion. All right, guys. You guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend. And I'll catch you in the next video.